Most people think the 1% are lucky, connected, or born with advantages the rest of us will never have. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. The real difference isn't talent, money, or circumstance, it's obsession. And obsession is a choice available to you right now. Good evening. Tonight, I want to talk to you about something that separates a very small group of people from everyone else. Not money, not background, not even intelligence. It's something far more powerful, something you can decide to embrace right now, this very moment. I'm talking about obsession. Now, I know what you're thinking. Obsession. Isn't that unhealthy? Isn't that extreme? And yes, it can be if it's misdirected, if it's rooted in fear or ego. But I'm not talking about that kind of obsession. I'm talking about the disciplined, purposeful, burning focus that takes hold of a person when they finally realize what they were put on this earth to do. That's the kind of obsession that builds empires, transforms lives, and separates the 1% from everyone else. Let me tell you something. The average person lives in a state of comfortable distraction. They dabble, they sample. They try a little of this, a little of that. They keep their options open. They say they want success, but they're not willing to pay the price. And the price is simple, it's obsession. Not the loud, frantic kind. The quiet, unshakable kind. The 1% don't balance their lives the way you've been told to. They tilt. They lean hard into what matters. They know that equal attention to everything produces mediocrity in everything. So they choose. They decide what's worth their life. And they give it everything they've got. Not someday. Not when it's convenient now. You see, most people are waiting for motivation. They're waiting to feel like doing the work. But motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes. Obsession is a resident. It lives with you. It wakes up with you. It walks with you through doubt, through failure, through criticism. Obsession doesn't need permission. It doesn't need applause. It simply moves forward because it must. Here's what I've learned. Obsession begins the moment you realize that not pursuing your goal is more painful than the work required to achieve it. That's the shift. That's the turning point. When staying where you are becomes unbearable, obsession is born. And let me be clear, obsession is not about working yourself to exhaustion. It's not about suffering for suffering's sake. It's about caring so deeply that your actions become inevitable. You don't have to force yourself. You don't have to rely on willpower. You're pulled forward by something greater than yourself. The 1% have discovered this secret: intensity beats duration. It's not about how many hours you put in. It's about how present, how committed, how focused you are in those hours. A man obsessed with his craft will accomplish more in 2 focused hours than a distracted man will in 2 weeks. But here's where most people fail. They don't protect their obsession. They let the world dilute it. They let opinions, obligations, and distractions pull them away from what matters. They say yes to everything and wonder why they're making progress on nothing. The 1% guard their obsession like it's the most precious thing they own, because it is. They say no to good opportunities so they can say yes to great ones. They eliminate, simplify, and focus. And they do it daily, not when they feel like it. Not when it's easy, daily. Now, I want you to understand something important. This isn't about becoming ruthless or selfish. This is about becoming deliberate. This is about understanding that your time, your energy, your attention, they're finite. You can spend them on 1,000 things and arrive nowhere, or you can spend them on one thing and arrive somewhere extraordinary. Let me share something with you that I believe with all my heart. The world makes way for the man who knows where he is going. And the man who knows where he is going is obsessed. He's not confused. He's not torn between 10 different paths. He's chosen. And in that choice, he finds freedom. Because obsession, real obsession, is liberating. It removes the burden of indecision. It clarifies everything. So let me ask you, what are you obsessed with? Not what you like. Not what interests you. What consumes you. What would you do even if no one was watching, even if no one ever applauded? That's your answer. That's your path. And if you don't have an answer yet, that's okay. But don't wait for it to find you. Go looking. Try things. Explore. Pay attention to what makes you lose track of time. Pay attention to what you think about when your mind is free to wander. That's where your obsession lies. And when you find it, when you finally find that thing, don't apologize for it. Don't shrink from it. Don't let anyone tell you it's too much, too intense, too risky, because the only real risk is living a life that never meant anything to you. The 1% are not special. They're simply obsessed, An obsession, my friend, is available to you right now. You know, there's something we've all been told since we were young, something that sounds so reasonable, so sensible, that we never thought to question it. We've been told to live a balanced life, to give equal time to work, family, health, hobbies, friendships, and everything else that comes along. We've been told that balance is the key to happiness, the secret to success. And so we try. We spread ourselves thin. We give a little bit here, a little bit there. We try to be good at everything, present for everyone. And somewhere along the way, we look up and realize something troubling. We're not excelling at anything. We're adequate everywhere and exceptional nowhere. We're busy, exhausted even, but we're not moving forward. Not really. And deep down, a question starts to gnaw at us. Is this all there is? Now, here's what I want you to consider for just a moment. Stop and think about the people you admire most, the ones who've truly accomplished something meaningful. The artists, the builders, the leaders, the creators. Think about them honestly. Did they live balanced lives, or did they tilt? You see, there's a difference, a profound difference, between balance and focus. Balance suggests that all things deserve equal weight, but that's simply not true. Not all activities produce equal results. Not all pursuits matter equally in the grand scheme of your life. Some things, a very few things, matter enormously, and most things don't. The 1% understand this. They don't try to be everything to everyone. They don't chase every opportunity that comes their way. Instead, they make a choice, a deliberate, sometimes difficult choice, to lean heavily into what truly matters. They tilt their entire life toward their purpose, their craft, their mission. Everything else becomes secondary. Now, this doesn't mean they neglect their health or abandon their families. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is this: they organize their entire life around their obsession, not against it. Their relationships support their purpose. Their habits reinforce it. Their environment reflects it. They don't compartmentalize, they integrate. Everything serves the central aim. Think of it this way: if you're trying to balance 10 spinning plates, you're going to spend all your time running back and forth, making sure none of them fall. You'll be exhausted, stressed, and you'll never actually create anything new. But if you choose 1 or 2 plates, the ones that truly matter, you can make them spin faster, higher, better than you ever thought possible. You have the energy, the focus, the clarity to master them. The world rewards depth, not breadth. It rewards the specialist, not the generalist. It rewards the person who goes all in, not the person who dabbles. So here's the truth, and it's a liberating truth once you accept it. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to be good at everything. You just have to find the 1 or 2 things that are worth your life, and then tilt everything you have toward them. That's not imbalance. That's not obsession gone wrong. That's obsession gone right. And that's exactly what the 1% do differently. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're hearing this word, obsession, and something inside you recoils a little. Maybe you've seen people who were obsessed with something, and it didn't end well. Maybe you've watched someone chase success so frantically, so desperately, that they lost themselves in the process, burned bridges, ruined their health, sacrificed everything, and ended up with nothing. And so you wonder, if I become obsessed, will I lose control? Will I become one of those people who can't sleep, can't rest, can't enjoy life anymore? Will I turn into someone I don't recognize? It's a fair question, and it deserves an honest answer. But before I give you that answer, I want you to picture 2 different people for me. The first is a man running through a burning building, panicked, arms flailing, knocking over everything in his path. He's moving fast, yes, but he's not in control. He's reacting. He's desperate. The second is a surgeon in an operating room. Focused, steady hands. Every movement deliberate. The stakes are just as high, maybe higher, but there's no panic, just precision, just purpose. Both are intense. Both are serious. But only one is effective. You see, there are 2 kinds of intensity in this world, and most people confuse them. There's the intensity of desperation, frantic, scattered, fueled by fear and ego. And then there's the intensity of devotion, calm, relentless, fueled by purpose and clarity. They look similar from the outside, but they feel completely different on the inside. And they produce completely different results. Desperation says, I need this to prove I'm worth something. Devotion says, this is worth something, and I'm going to give it everything I have. Desperation is about you. Devotion is about the work. The 1% are not desperate. They're devoted. They don't chase success to fill a void or prove something to the world. They pursue their craft because they've found something worth pursuing, something bigger than their own insecurities, something that calls to them day after day, whether anyone's watching or not. And here's the beautiful part. When obsession comes from devotion rather than desperation, it doesn't drain you, it energizes you. You don't have to force yourself to show up. You don't have to manufacture motivation. You're drawn to the work the way a compass is drawn to north, naturally, inevitably. Desperate people burn out. Devoted people burn bright. Desperate people need constant validation. Devoted people find satisfaction in the process itself. Desperate people collapse when they face obstacles. Devoted people simply adjust and continue. So when I talk about obsession, I'm not talking about losing yourself. I'm talking about finding yourself. I'm not talking about frantic effort. I'm talking about focused energy directed by a clear and worthy purpose. The obsession that changes lives isn't loud. It isn't erratic. It's the quiet, unshakable commitment of a person who knows what they're here to do, and does it day after day, with patience, with discipline, with a deep and abiding sense of calm. That's the kind of obsession that builds something lasting, and that's the kind of obsession you can trust. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, even if it's just to yourself. How many times today did you pick up your phone without really needing to? How many browser tabs do you have open right now? How many projects have you started this year that you haven't finished? How many books sit on your shelf, half read? How many ideas have you had that never went anywhere? If you're feeling a little uncomfortable right now, that's okay. Most of us are, because somewhere along the way we've built lives filled with noise, constant input, endless options, 1,000 voices telling us what we should want, what we should buy, what we should care about. And in all that noise, something crucial has been lost, our ability to pay attention to what actually matters. We tell ourselves we're busy. We tell ourselves we're productive. But if we're honest, truly honest, we're just distracted. And distraction, my friend, is the thief of greatness. Now, let me tell you what's really happening here. Attention is the most valuable resource you have. Not money, not time, attention. Because you can have all the time in the world, but if your attention is scattered across a dozen different things, you'll never make meaningful progress on any of them. Time without attention is just empty hours. And here's the thing about attention, it's finite. You only have so much of it in a given day. Every notification, every interruption, every mental tab you have running in the background, it all draws from the same limited pool. And when that pool runs dry, you're left feeling exhausted without having accomplished anything of real significance. The extraordinary people, the 1%, they understand this at a level most people never reach. They don't just manage their time. They guard their attention like it's the most precious thing they own, because it is. They've made a fundamental decision that changes everything. They've decided what deserves their focus, and they've ruthlessly eliminated everything else. Not someday, not gradually, deliberately and completely. They don't follow every trending topic. They don't respond to every request. They don't chase every shiny opportunity. They say no to almost everything so they can say yes fully, completely, wholeheartedly to the one thing that matters most. And here's what happens when you do that. When you take all that scattered attention and direct it toward a single worthy pursuit, something remarkable occurs. You don't just get a little bit better, you get exponentially better. Because mastery isn't built through casual engagement. It's built through devoted, sustained, undistracted focus applied consistently over time. Think about it, a laser beam and a light bulb both use energy, but one can cut through steel while the other just illuminates a room. The difference isn't the energy, it's the focus. You have that same choice right now. You can continue spreading your attention across everything and remain adequate at all of it. Or you can gather that attention, focus it like a laser, and direct it towards something that genuinely matters to you. The average person checks their phone 70 times a day. The extraordinary person checks in with their purpose 70 times a day. One is pulled by distractions. The other is drawn by devotion. The difference isn't talent. It's not opportunity. It's simply this: where does your attention go day after day after day? Because wherever your attention goes, your life follows. And that, my friend, is entirely within your control. You know, there's a belief that's taken hold in our culture, and it's causing an awful lot of good people an awful lot of unnecessary pain. It's the belief that if you're not getting the results you want, the answer is simple. Work harder. Put in more hours. Sleep less. Push through. Grind it out. And if you're still not succeeding, well, you must not be working hard enough. So we add another hour to the day. We skip lunch. We work weekends. We tell ourselves that success is just on the other side of exhaustion. And maybe, for a little while, we see some progress. But then something happens. We hit a wall. We burn out. Or worse, we keep going, but we realize we've lost something along the way. The joy, the meaning, the reason we started in the first place. And a quiet voice inside begins to whisper, "Is all this effort even worth it?" Now, before you answer that, let me tell you something I've observed over many years of studying successful people. The ones who truly make it, not just financially, but in a way that's meaningful and lasting, they're not necessarily the ones working the longest hours. They're not the ones who've mastered the art of suffering. They're the ones who've mastered something else entirely. They've learned to care deeply. You see, there's a difference between effort and devotion. Effort is what you do. Devotion is why you do it. Effort can be measured in hours. Devotion is measured in heart. You can force effort. You can manufacture it through discipline and willpower. But devotion, that comes from a different place entirely. It comes from caring so much about something that the work stops feeling like work. It becomes an expression of who you are. Think about the difference this way. Two people can spend the same 8 hours at a desk. One is watching the clock, counting down the minutes, doing just enough to get by. The other loses track of time completely because they're absorbed in something that matters to them. Same hours, completely different intensity, completely different results. The 1% don't outwork everyone, they outcare everyone. They're not grinding away at something they're indifferent to. They've found something worth caring about, and that changes everything. Because when you deeply care, you don't need someone to motivate you. You don't need to trick yourself into showing up. You're pulled forward by something stronger than discipline alone. And here's the beautiful part: when you care deeply, you naturally pay attention to the details others miss. You notice the small improvements. You see the opportunities. You develop an intuition for your craft that no amount of forced effort could ever create. You're not just putting in time, you're present. You're engaged. You're alive in the work. The world doesn't reward exhaustion. It rewards excellence. And excellence doesn't come from how many hours you log. It comes from how much you cared during those hours. So if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling like you're pushing and pushing but getting nowhere, maybe the question isn't, how can I work harder? Maybe the question is, am I working on something I actually care about? Because when you find that thing worth caring about, the effort stops feeling like sacrifice. It starts feeling like purpose. And purpose, my friend, doesn't burn you out. It lights you up. You've probably noticed something about yourself, and maybe it bothers you a little. You know what you should be doing. You've known for a while now. There's a goal sitting in the back of your mind, a dream you've thought about more times than you can count. You've told yourself, one day I'll do that. One day I'll start. One day I'll take it seriously. But the days keep passing. The months slip by. And that dream, it's still sitting there untouched. And now there's something else sitting there with it, a nagging feeling, a quiet discomfort, a growing sense that time is running out, that you're letting something important slip through your fingers. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to wonder if it's too late, if you've waited too long, if you even have what it takes anymore. Now, I want you to stay with me here for just a moment, because what I'm about to tell you might be the most important thing you hear today. That uncomfortable feeling you're experiencing, that restlessness, that sense that something needs to change. That's not a problem. That's not weakness. That's actually the beginning of something powerful. You see, here's what most people don't understand about obsession. It doesn't begin with excitement. It doesn't start with motivation or inspiration or a sudden burst of energy. Those things come and go. They're unreliable. No real obsession, the kind that actually transforms your life, it begins with discomfort. It begins when staying where you are becomes more painful than the effort required to change. Let me say that again, because it's crucial. Obsession is born when the pain of inaction finally exceeds the pain of action. Right now, you're at a crossroads, and there's a calculation happening inside you, whether you're conscious of it or not. On one side is the comfort of staying where you are, the familiar routine, the safe choices, the path of least resistance. On the other side is the discomfort of change, the uncertainty, the hard work, the risk of failure. And for most people, most of the time, comfort wins, because the pain of inaction is slow. It accumulates gradually. It whispers rather than shouts. It's the pain of regret, what if, of looking back years from now and wondering what might have been. That pain is easy to ignore, for a while. But there comes a moment, and you'll know it when it arrives, when that slow, building pain becomes impossible to ignore. When the cost of not pursuing your goal becomes unbearable. When staying comfortable becomes the most uncomfortable thing you could possibly do. When you realize that another year of living this way will break something in you that can't be repaired. That's the moment everything changes. That's when obsession isn't something you have to manufacture or force. It becomes inevitable. It becomes necessary. You don't choose it so much as it chooses you. Because suddenly you're not moving towards something, you're moving away from the unbearable cost of standing still. The 1% aren't superhuman. They didn't wake up one day with magical motivation. They simply reached a point where not acting became more painful than acting. And once you cross the threshold, everything gets easier. Not because the work gets easier, but because you're no longer fighting yourself. So if you're feeling that discomfort right now, that restlessness, that sense that something has to change good, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't wait for it to pass. That discomfort is your obsession trying to be born. Let it. Here's something that might trouble you when you first hear it. You're going to find your obsession, that thing you were meant to do, that purpose that makes you feel alive, and the moment you do, the world is going to try to take it away from you. Not maliciously, not intentionally, but it will happen nonetheless. People who care about you will want your time. Opportunities that sound good, not great, just good, will present themselves. Obligations will pile up. Requests will come in. And little by little, if you're not careful, the thing that matters most will get pushed to the margins of your life. You'll tell yourself you'll get to it later, after you handle everything else. And before you know it, weeks have passed, then months. And that fire you felt, it's dimming. And you'll wonder, where did it go? Why can't I seem to hold on to what matters most? Now, I need you to understand something right now, before we go any further. This isn't a problem of wanting it badly enough. This isn't about motivation or commitment. This is about something far more practical: protection. Because here's the truth that nobody tells you: having an obsession isn't enough. You have to build a fortress around it. Let me explain what I mean. Your obsession, your purpose, that thing you're here to do, it's not loud. It doesn't demand attention the way urgent things do. A ringing phone demands attention. An email marked urgent demands attention. A person standing in front of you with a request demands attention. But your obsession, it waits quietly. It trusts you to choose it. And if you don't actively protect it, everything else will crowd it out. Not because those other things are more important, but because they're more immediate. The 1% understand something that most people never learn. Everything is trying to steal your focus. Every single day, there's a competition for your time, your energy, your attention. And if you don't decide in advance what wins that competition, other people will decide for you. Your inbox will decide. Your social media feed will decide. The expectations of others will decide. So here's what the extraordinary people do differently. They don't just pursue their obsession, they defend it. Actively. Ruthlessly, even. They build their entire day around protecting the time and space needed for what truly matters. They say no to good opportunities because they're committed to great ones. They turn down invitations. They set boundaries that might make them unpopular. They disappoint people. And yes, that's uncomfortable, but they do it anyway because they know something crucial. If you don't protect your obsession, no one else will. It's not anyone else's job, it's yours. Think of it this way: if you had a priceless diamond, you wouldn't just leave it sitting on your kitchen counter where anyone could take it, would you? You'd lock it up. You'd protect it. You'd be vigilant. Your obsession is infinitely more valuable than any diamond. It's the thing that gives your life meaning. And yet most people treat it casually, as if it will always be there, as if they can get to it whenever it's convenient. But here's what the 1% know: your obsession won't always be there. The fire can go out. The calling can fade. Not because it wasn't real, but because you didn't protect it from all the things that slowly smother it. So they build walls. They create systems. They eliminate anything that doesn't serve their purpose. They guard their mornings, their energy, their focus like their life depends on it. Because it does. Your life, the one you actually want to live, the one that means something, it depends entirely on your ability to protect what matters most. And once you accept that responsibility, everything becomes clearer. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Before you go to bed, write down one thing, just one that you know, deep down you were meant to pursue. Something you've been putting off. Something you've been too afraid, too busy, or too distracted to commit to. Write it down. And tomorrow morning, give it 1 hour. Not half your attention while you check your phone. 1 full hour of obsessed, undistracted focus. Do that for 7 days. Just 7. And I promise you, by the end of that week, you'll feel something you haven't felt in a long time: momentum. The 1% didn't get there by accident. They got there by deciding that their dream was worth obsessing over, and so is yours. Now go. Your life is waiting.